Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to a very interesting session, I would like to have one more lucky draw here. So requesting Mr. Parag Shah from Buttered Group to please join me on stage here. Once again announcing that if you have not filled up your coupons, the coupons are available at the Buttered stall. Please go there, fill up your names, and you will be enrolled and you will be entitled for the lucky draw. Is it again an iPhone 6? iPhone 6 again? It's an iPhone 6 again! Wow. All right, let's see who's the winner over here.
This time winner is Mr. Nitin Joshi.
Congratulations, Nitin ji. You win an iPhone 6. नितिन जी, मुझे बड़ी इच्छा हो रही है आपसे पूछने के लिए कि ये आईफोन 6 आप किसको देंगे, आपकी बीवी को या खुद रखेंगे?
खुद रखूंगा क्योंकि मेरे बिजनेस के लिए मेरे को इम्पोर्टेंट है, तो हो सकता है ये एप्पल 6 से मैं और लेके और मेरे फैमिली फ्रेंड्स को किसी को भी दे सकता हूँ।
क्या बात है, अच्छी सोच है आपकी। थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू पराग जी। ऑलराइट लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, lucky draws are really exciting and there are so many more to go. We'd now like to move on to our next session. Being innovative in a slack market, the developers take on reinventing themselves to keep up with the times. I would like to invite Vasudha Sharma of NDTV, who will be our moderator of this session. Can you please give her a huge round of applause? Mr. Abhishek Lodha, MD Lodha Group, please join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep applauding for our dignitaries. Mr. Rajiv Piramal, MD and Vice Chairman, Peninsula Land Limited. Mr. Ashish Shah, CEO of Radius Developers. Mr. Ashwinder Raj Singh, CEO, Residential Services, JLL India. And Mr. Vikram Goel, CEO, HDFC Realty. Can we have a round of applause for them? Over to you, Vasudha.
Hello and welcome. Today we are gathered here with a specific purpose in mind. We want to understand what's happening in the real estate industry, what's happening in the real estate market, and how can we revive it out of its blues. Sales down to a trickle, inventory that is mounting across India, and crippling construction delays. All of this has made the potential home buyer rethink his property purchase. How can we bring him back to the market? Today we're discussing being innovative in a slack market. What is the developer's take on reinventing themselves? Let me welcome my panel of speakers today. Abhishek Lodha, Managing Director, Lodha Group. Ashwinder Raj Singh, CEO, Residential Services, JLL India. We have Ashish Shah, COO, Radius Developers. Rajiv Piramal, Managing Director and Vice Chairman, Peninsula Land. And Vikram Goel, CEO, HDFC Realty. Abhishek, I want to come to you first. Your company seems to have survived the downturn pretty gracefully. Your sales have been pretty decent. What is it that you're doing differently today?
Thanks. The focus of our organization has been largely around quality and delivery, and making sure that we focus on marketing it well to our consumers. So we've stayed centered to one geography, largely around Mumbai, and have stayed largely focused on residential with some amount of office space, and really built, in our opinion, a strong professional team which can really make sure that the very difficult supply chain of real estate across various skill sets can be delivered well. We think it's a specialization business, and our belief is that consumers continue buying with us, and we've done decently well on account of the fact that they see us as focused and specialized on delivering what we promised to them.
Okay. Ashwinder, what kind of a developer can survive this depressed market?
See, I think the most important thing is that we need to continue to focus on the customer. It is very important to figure out what is the customer wants, because the requirements of customers in the last 4 or 5 years have been continuously changing, and I think they will continuously evolve. And how do you then fulfill those demands that a client or a customer has? If you really look at it today, 7 out of 10 clients initiate their buying behavior on the internet. So one of the important things is that, we will all have to really focus on how do we go digital and how do we make our digital strategy differentiating so that the strategy helps us to reach the customer who's looking out for a house. Because doing sales in these markets have become, some people say it has become tough. I say it has changed. It is not the same way you could sell a house 5 years back. So the buying cycle has changed. People take more time. The other thing is that, our developers and the entire fraternity needs to understand that we need to constantly engage with the customer. So a customer who comes to see a site today might not necessarily buy that apartment in the same month. But it does not mean that if he has not bought it in the same month, he's not going to buy it ever. And what happens, I have seen players who have constantly engaged with the clients on a regular basis, and once that customer, decides to buy, say after 12 months, the customer remembers who's the person who's been engaging with him, who's the right advisor, and that's when the deal happens. So I think there are a couple of things that need to be done in these markets differently.
Okay. Ashish, you represent the new breed of developer today. You earlier said that you're focusing on a very, select, marketing strategy. Is digital a big part of your game? Like Ashwinder said, it's important to get the information out to the buyer today.
Absolutely. I think in today's day and age, you have to have a serious go-to-market plan on the digital platform. I think there is no two words about it. For Radius developers, which is basically an outcome of their succession plan with Vadhva Group, the team that we inherited was extremely strong in office space. And office space requires fairly long lead time, deeper engagement with customers who are doing buying on behalf of the organization. That has ingrained a lot of things, and those lessons are fairly replicable and into our DNA of our newly formed team of investing a lot more time in understanding what the customer wants and not trying to, rattle on what are the 3 things the product does best and what have you. So I think it's, yes, digital world will let people know about you, but proof of the pudding lies is how well do you know your customers? How confident are you of your own business model? How much money you are going to make, how quickly you're going to deliver, and just because another competition changes its price, do you really need to reflect it, or you need to showcase your offering a little better, engage with folks like Smart a little bit better. So we're taking slightly different view on this of saying, we need to go through the value chain and invest mind time on all of these. So yes, digital world is a great source, and I think everyone agrees that there's no more debate on this.
Okay, Rajiv, do you feel the need to reinvent yourself now, the way you're doing business?
Well, I think that we are in a process of reinvention, if I may say so myself. At Peninsula, we originally got into this business as an opportunistic kind of play because, we had industrial properties in Mumbai and we decided to develop them. And I think that if we look at, say, the first round of projects that we did in and around Mumbai, and the way we delivered and sold those projects, and if we compare that to what we're doing today, we're a completely different company. So you have to keep evolving, you have to keep changing. I think that what has changed over the last 10 years, I think, is the equation between the buyer and the developer has completely changed. And that has been brought about by a number of things. I think one is the increased number of options that the buyers have. I mean, you know, when we were, say, 10 years ago selling projects in central Mumbai, there was maybe 1 or 2 other competitors. You know, today you're competing with 10 or 12 other companies. And you know, all companies have a good reputation, they all have delivery, so it's not that you can say that, oh, I'm corporate or, you know, something like that, and therefore people will come to me. I think that, so that's one, they have many more options. I think the second thing also is that technology has completely changed the way they access these options. So where earlier a customer or a buyer would be dependent on a broker or an institution, maybe a one-stop shop to, you know, recommend something for them. Today, while they can go to the brick and mortar player as well, online, digital access, etc., has completely changed the way their knowledge is and how they approach buying as well. So I think that the industry it has completely changed, and as Peninsula, you know, we have also had to adapt and change to that. And I think that we're in the process of doing that. And I think that it's an ongoing process where it's a complete package now you need to have. So you need to be on the ball as far as your execution and delivery of your projects is concerned. But in addition to that, you need to meet your customers' needs much more quickly, much more sensitively, and be much more responsive to what maybe you needed to be some time ago. So I think it's an ongoing process. It's an exciting time in one way, because a lot of disruptive technologies are coming into the market and the way you're doing things are changing. But of course, on the other hand, given the overall sentiment, given the supply situation, it's a difficult market as well. But I think that I genuinely believe that even in this market, if you're able to get your product right and able to approach the customer in the appropriate manner, there is success to be had. It's not all doom and gloom, I would say, from my perspective.
Getting your product right. Vikram, what is your take on that? You know, at HDFC Realty, when people come to you, clients come to you, what kind of products are they now looking at, and what is the demand like today for, what kind of products are in demand today?
You know, enough of that, I think, has been said in multiple ways. I like to focus on two things. One, when we say that, you know, the market has gone down, I largely believe that people who were investing earlier, the investor lot has gone down. The actual users in the market are still there. And actual users are there for a product worth 10 lakh rupees, and actual users are there for the product worth 10 crores in Bombay as well. And which is why, if you see, there are a lot of developers, and a couple of them are with us today, who in central Bombay, with the ticket price which is there, are still selling very, very well. Now, if you look at the home loan numbers, the sanction undisbursed data, you know, I'm getting some numbers in here, used to be about 30% of the total loan portfolio of the new loans till about a couple of years back. That has gone up to about 35-40%, which means that there are people who are wanting to buy houses, but they're not able to conclude a transaction. Now, why they're not able to conclude a transaction, apart from, you know, what everybody has mentioned, is I think also because the customer is more aware today. At the same time, because he's more aware, he's more demanding, and he knows that he can demand today because the market is in a demand-supply mismatch situation. And he also has some worries and scares because he's seen certain projects which have taken more than usual time. So if you are a developer who's focusing on construction, if you are a developer who's focused on delivery all your while, if your site management is done professionally, just to give you examples, you know, so there are certain developers where the site management is still done in a very traditional way, where that is not the focus which a developer has. And there are certain developers, I can talk about the three panelists here right now, where there's a lot of focus on how do you address a customer when he walks in, and how do you address a customer when you're talking to him, and how do you engage him on the website. You know, this including how do you manage your channel partners, which are about 60 to 70% of the sales today. I think all these things today create a brand or a comfort, which then a customer sort of takes into account before he makes a purchase. So I think it's an amalgamation of all these things. His experience when he's interacting with you, whether it's one of the .coms today, it's your own website, it's the site. I've known of certain site managements now being done by professional cabs like Ola cabs and Uber cabs, what are you doing here? You're just making it very, very convenient for him to come and telling him that, listen, hey, I want you and I respect your views and your ideas and we will do whatever required to do a deal. So as long as you have that thought process, with the basic track record of delivery, I think sales are still there to be done.
Okay, Abhishek, coming to you now. We spoke about, rethinking, remodeling the product that developers are today offering. Would you say we need to bring about some kind of innovation in the product? There was earlier talk about sizing it lower, even though if you can't reduce the price per square foot. Would you agree with that statement?
I think product innovation is clearly a very important part of how one keeps refreshing oneself and going to the market with the right kind of things which people would demand. There's a certain part of the market which wants the tightest possible home, so yes, you'd look at optimizing on the square footage. There is a lot of people who are end users who are actually looking for the right kind of sizing. They want more space inside their apartments and not outside in decks or balconies. They want to make sure that the kitchen is properly sized. They want to make sure they have a puja area, utility area, so on and so forth. So really understanding the consumer and making sure we give each different consumer segment what they want is important. There are consumers who really want today to have very high-end interior finishes. They want the designs to best across the world. They want to pay a lot for amenities. So different consumer segments have different needs, and buyers and developers have to understand each segment. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to this.
Bulk of the demand comes from the middle-income buyer. What about them? Will you resize your product for them?
I think Bombay apartment sizes are already quite tight. And I think middle-income buyers are looking for a combination of the right unit value, so they want tighter square footage. But I think equally what they want today is an upgradation of their family's lifestyle and well-being. So they want good support facilities, healthcare, education. They want good sports and other facilities. They want security. They want a society where they live with like-minded people. So I don't think that if one was to make the smallest possible apartment or tightest possible apartment, that is the surefire way of succeeding in this marketplace. I think everything has to come together, including the right size of the apartment.
Valid point. It's the quality of life, the living experience that a lot of people are also looking for. Ashwinder, what do you have to say on that?
I think, I completely agree with Abhishek. What is important is value for money. It is not about, paying less. Finally, as Indians, we are really passionate about our house. All of us want to buy our own house, and that is where the demand comes from, and that is why the real estate industry is going to thrive for years and years and years. And because there is so much of latent demand which is there, 800 million people below the age of 35, and even if 20% of them have to buy their homes, in the next 10 years, you can imagine what kind of demand is there. So if we are catering to the demand of people who are going to be the end users, and if we can do a good market research, figure out what is it that the customer wants. See, in India, it is also important to see what micro markets are you focusing on, because North India behaves very differently than West India. And Delhi and Mumbai, two markets, sizing of houses are completely different. So, there's going to be a requirement of a lot of consumer research that has to go in. What is the value people seek? What is it that people are ready to pay for? Is it about the overall amenities? It is about size of the apartment? Is it about, living in a, group housing? Is it about buying a plot? So maybe in a tier 2, tier 3, the consumer behavior completely changes. So yes, there's going to be a lot of creativity required, a lot of detailing required. As they say, God lies in detail. I think now God lies in the next level of detail. The more you focus on the customer, the more you understand what the customer wants, and then you bring a product, as my friend from Pyramid also said, I don't think sales are going to be an issue. So that's my take on it.
Okay. Rajiv, do you think in a developer's marketing for a project, the message has to be rewritten? Because, of course, the buyer wants to know the project has these specifications. He also wants to know if the project will be delivered on time. This is the track record of this builder. He has all these approvals in place. So we need to bridge that whole transparency factor which does not exist right now.
No, I think I fully agree with that. I think, we are increasingly moving towards an era of customization, essentially. Because each transaction is independent, each apartment buyer is independent, and each person has their own needs, their own requirements. And I think that it's going to be the challenge for developers will be to be able to meet all these requirements of these varying number of people that you're addressing. So the one-size-fits-all, kind of approach is in the past. So, the customization can be along many lines. It can be along payment terms. It can be along what you give them in their apartment. It could be along what add-on amenities you provide, and also in terms of what information you provide. So I think that definitely, like I said, as options have increased, as buyers have become more knowledgeable, they are looking to also differentiate between various developers. And like I said, at a micro level, reputations are all similar, right? It's really more a question of what you're delivering and what have you done for me now. I think that you maybe have successfully executed one project, and that may help you to, attract people to the next one. But there's no guarantee that if you do not do the same level of performance which people demand, that they will come back to you going forward. So it's an ongoing process that you have to kind of engage in. And I think that definitely, a lot of things like your saleable areas, how you calculate that, where projects are, because people have been burnt in the past due to a lack of information and lack of knowledge in the past, I definitely think that transparency is something that is going to be increasingly important. It should be important any which way, and it's always prioritized, but rather than actually only giving it lip service, developers are actually going to have to deliver these things. And it's already happening. It's not that it's not happening. Developers are much more transparent now in terms of where the approvals are, where the process, and I think that it's about communication. I think, because I think the end user also understands that it's a complicated process, unfortunately, in India. Getting a building built should be simple, but it isn't. Simply because there's so many the approvals process is a very treacherous and very long, winded path or journey. So I think customers understand that. I think that it's communication that is the problem. So even if there is bad news, or even if there is a delay, if we are able to communicate that and we are able to kind of incorporate people with that, so I think that is where, then people accept that, okay, fine, you're giving me the bad news, give me the bad news, but rather than not give any news at all. I think that's something that will continue to happen, or more of that will have to happen as we go into the future. And I think that as buyers become more mature, they also understand some of the issues that developers face. It cannot be a one-sided relationship. It has to be a much more closer and much more open relationship. And it's maybe a little utopic what I'm saying, but we have to move in that direction, definitely.
Okay. Vikram, like he just said, today's buyer is very well informed, he's matured, he knows a lot about the project he's getting into. So from that respect, every property buyer today has that element of suspicion in his mind, with respect to his investment, whether will he get it on time or not. So like he said, developers today are focusing on transparency. How important will this factor be in reviving the sector? Can sales be revived if we bring all the information out to the buyer, make him believe that this project is a sound investment?
So the answer is yes. I agree with most of, and in fact all of what Rajiv has said and mentioned today, that there is transparency required to all stakeholders. So there's a transparency required to a developer also when he's dealing with various state bodies for approvals, which can cut down necessarily the time for which you need to hold the asset, which does have an impact on the pricing. There's a lot of transparency required at the customer's end today, because for some reason or the other, all developers are right now put in the same basket by most of the customers. Some of us who are stakeholders who are in business probably understands an A developer better than a B. But for customers, I think they've had bad experiences, unfortunately with good developers as well, where certain projects have got delayed. If there's a delay, communication is very, very important, which is what Rajiv said. But I think what is very important in terms of when we are talking to a customer in terms, what my project is, we need a regulator, but it might just take some time. There are a lot of discussion happening on that front. So if that comes, of course, things will change. But what are people doing right now, and what do customers tell us when they speak to us? They really need to know who are the people who've approved the home loan. And I think almost every developer today does mention home loan approvals whenever they're talking about a project anywhere. It's part of their brochure, it's part of their advertisement. I think that could be played a little more and might just help. they also need to understand which are the financial institutions which have given them construction finance. Some of them are also very, very aware, especially in the metros, who also understand that there's a private equity which probably must have gone in this project. And these institutions, the home loan guy, the construction finance guy, the private equity guy, probably would have done their due diligence. So I think beyond the facade and the layout and the amenities, if we also mention this as one of our marketing tools, this in a way might just play in the customer's mind, giving him a lot of assurance that, listen, I don't know much, but I'm sure these financial institutions know what they're doing, so let me go ahead and buy it.
So it's the bankers that will bring in the credibility. Ashish, coming to you, we just spoke about transparency. What is your take on it at your company? What are you doing? How are you reinventing yourself in terms of your customer engagement?
I think this is so critical, and it's now become an entry stage gate for you to qualify. And each and every one of these guys here are sharp cookies. Okay, so they know what questions to ask. What we've done is, whenever we are about to launch something, introduce new to the market, we introduced with the, not only just the channel partner kit, but also a title CD, the approvals which has it, and now we've gone on to a Dropbox and, request them to just look it up. So, that's again fairly proactive. We've also had conversations with clients who are just curious about the project, understand the amenities and all that stuff, and then there is always a question on where are you on permission. Earlier, we used to just say and they used to believe, and right now we've just far more authentic, having a solid file on table and gives them super comfort. We have offices in Singapore and Dubai. Even those offices are equipped with some of these approvals, hard copies. These are symbolic, but it gives super comfort to people who are still testing waters, because the tide has not yet fully turned, that the sentiment is there to just take the real estate by dollops. So really, we have to reach out to customers. We have to educate channel partners and be frank about it. If you think that this permission is going to take 3 months, we tell the client 6 months, and then let him or her take a call. So, do you have the courage of letting the business go? Finally the question has reached that stage.
Okay. Ashwinder, transparency again. Like you said, a few years ago, your business was focused entirely on commercial. You've now entered the residential space, going by the immense amount of inquiries that you receive, buyers who come in who are doubtful, who are unaware about the basic things when it comes to approvals, and they want to seek opinion and advice on their investments. It's very important today to manage opinion, given the thriving social media, environment that we have today. What is your take on that?
See, I think what has happened is transparency is a function of trust, and it is nothing else. So the whole issue that the real estate sector is grappling with is trust. So till the time any player in the market, especially in these current markets, is not going to be able to generate trust either with the customer or with across stakeholders, the journey is going to become very tough. So if you really look at it, in the last few years, as I said, people are looking, consumers are looking at players who have a track record. Now, as an advisor, you have a track record of advising the right property. As a developer, you can have a track record of delivering it on time, the quality of construction that you give. Because ultimately, the biggest marketing tool is always going to be word of mouth. It is the user who's going to finally validate and certify whether you are a good advisor or whether you are a good developer or not. So I think it is extremely critical that one of the things all of us need to do is to undercommit and overdeliver. The greed of doing more by saying more, that era is over. It's about doing more and saying less. And that is why we have seen that players who have certain ethos, if you have certain guidelines, if you have a process of acquiring customers, if you have compliance guidelines, if you have due diligence guidelines, and when the end consumer sees the process, you generate trust. And that is where the inquiries start coming in. So somewhere all of us as a fraternity will have to learn from our own mistakes that all of us have done and really come across as transparent in the way we do things, and over a period of time build your reputation, which many people say a brand. So that's where we have seen that in the last 2 years as an IPC at JLL, we've seen a lot of inquiries going in, our consumers have been happy, we've been very selective of the projects that we have been selling to our consumers, and it all boils down to transparency and trust. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah.
Okay, I want to shift gears now and come to you, Vikram. Okay, so primary markets saturated, investors have exited, sales not happening. Why not tap other geographies, go to tier 2, tier 3 cities? Are you seeing demand there, Vikram?
So the answer is yes. In fact, there are some developers whom we are working with today, and we're taking them to a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I'll give you an example of what was happening 4 or 5 years back. So 4 or 5 years back, we'll have certain developers coming to us talking about second houses and third houses. It could be Goa, it could be Lonavala, it could be Khandala, and trying to sell those properties to investors in Delhi, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, because these are aggressive investors typically in the north. That has changed now. The investors any which ways are not there in the market, or there are few of them who are there, but the actual users are there today. So now we have more people who are coming from Pune saying, I am an education hub, and I have a lot of kids who come to me from north for education, and their parents want to invest there, or these kids will graduate eventually and thus they would start working here. Thus Pune is a good destination for Delhi to invest. Now, something like this was not discussed 4 years back. Right? 4 years back, what we discussed was, Ludhiana has a lot of money, let's go take a Goa project and sell them a villa worth 5 crores. Today, you're talking about a 2-bedroom, 50 lakh rupees in Pune because there's a real demand for that. So I think, which is where we have been advising a lot of developers, that much beyond your area of operation, or what you call the host city, one has to look out. It could be other metro cities, but it could also be smaller locations, which, for example, Pune has always strived upon. So they always go to the sugar belt, which is the Satara, then Sanglis and the Kolhapurs, and they always get sales from there. So I think there is a lot of demand within India, within certain markets, where we can cross-sell our product, and that can really, really be explored.
Okay. Rajiv, is your business strategy looking at other locations apart from the prime markets?
Well, I mean, we have actually experienced tier 2 cities. So we obviously started off as a Mumbai-based developer. Currently, we are in Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore. We're in Goa, we're in Nasik, which are tier 2 cities. We're in Khandala as well. And frankly, our experience has actually taught us to focus more on our home markets. So really, we've made a decision to look at basically Mumbai, Pune, and Bangalore really as primary markets for ourselves. And the reason for that, maybe as a Mumbai developer, is that if you look at even in a Pune, or I mean Nasik, if you look at Nasik, you know, you're kind of operating in a price range of between 4,000 to 5,000 rupees a square foot. You know, in Mumbai, you operate in a price range of 20, 30, 40, etc. So there's a huge mismatch and a huge gap between these markets. Also, our personal experience in Nasik has been that the markets have not really grown to the extent that they should have, both on pricing and in terms of the depth of the market. So our view has been really to focus now primarily on these 3 markets. The other tier 2 cities, while I'm sure opportunity exists, for a Mumbai developer with our kind of cost base, our cost structure, to kind of go into those markets and be successful is a challenge. Plus, I think that, you know, real estate to some extent is a very local business as well, and local developers do have a certain edge over you in certain aspects, certain parameters. While you may be able to bring a certain quality and project management skills, etc., which may be better as a larger developer, you still are competing with you know, local intelligence, market knowledge, etc., may not be the same. Plus, I think that you know, for us, you know, while margins are under pressure across the board, but the amount of effort and time it takes to develop a project where you're selling at 4,000 or 5,000 is pretty similar to what you need, even if you're doing a 30,000 or 40,000 rupee project. So the manpower required, the people required, the inputs required is similar, but you know, there's a mismatch in the pricing. So for us, we tried the tier 2 city experience. It's been a learning experience, I would say. And our focus now remains on these three markets going forward, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Pune. We haven't done anything in the north. We don't intend to at this point of time. We feel that we are well served by looking at these markets and these opportunities. And there's plenty of opportunity in these three markets for us, at least as a company going forward.
Ashish, what about you? Best to stay local or to expand to other newer locations?
Definitely local. We remain extremely optimistic on Mumbai. There is, the highest level of urbanization that's happening. And Arshdeep threw some statistics, and I think a lot of time I feel that the government is not that great at marketing some of the stuff that it is planning to do, is about to implement. Just one article here and there. If you look governments elsewhere, Singapore or the UK, there is far more engagement with the citizens and the local community, saying what is this infrastructure doing. And a lot of us are not aware the kind of investment that has gone in Mumbai, the plans, and I think this is going to be one of the best cities to reside. It'll take time because there are plenty of us in Mumbai. But really, from a real estate standpoint, there is a lot of latent demand. And like he said, you need to know the approvals, you need to know the DC rules, and which are constantly changing. You need to be on the ball, and there are enough balls in the air. So you don't want to add one more micro market outside what you're not good at. So I think we're very happy and confident to admit that we don't have the courage to go out yet.
Okay, so we've run out of time, but I want quick closing comments from each one of you. Very briefly, Ashwinder, starting with you, what is your mantra for innovation for real estate sector?
So I think there are three important pillars as far as I look at the whole thing. One is there should be a good use of technology. Second is product mix. We need to have products for all kind of segments. The products should be based on research. And third is to have standardized processes that kind of connect the dot, so that you have sales efficiencies, you have operations efficiencies, you are focusing on cost, you are not letting things fall between the table. So if these three things are done well, which is a good mix of technology, product, and process, I think that can make the difference.
Vikram, what formula would you advise to developers to reinvent?
I think I'll mention a couple of things. Nothing replaces a focus of a developer on the construction. So I think a developer must focus on construction more than ever before, the speed and the quality. In terms of interaction with the customer, technology is one. But I think customer experience when you meet the customer, and I am a firm believer of how do you deal with the customer when the customer walks into your site? That's very, very important. And third is getting your home loan options in place, and the right partners with you from the funding side as well. I think these three things would give you the trust and the customer's experience for him to take a call.
Ashish, with the festive season coming up, what's your message to home buyers? What would you urge them? What would you tell them to come forward?
I promised myself not to be salesy today. But really, I think everyone in this room agrees that this is the best time to purchase real estate. Developers are there round the corner. We are being at our nicest best to each one of you. And, this is the best time to get those clients. Thank you.
And Rajiv, your take?
Yeah, I don't know how I can follow that, but no, I think, as I said earlier, we are in an era of customization. And I think that it really translates to all these things that many different people in the panel have talked about. I think that the era of developers dictating to customers what they would like to buy in terms of apartment size, in terms of payment schedule, in terms of finishes, whatever it may be, I think that era right now is in the past. I think that it is, the equation is completely the other way around now. So I think that those of us who can customize our products, our offering, whether it is our engagement, whether it is our the financial part of it, whether it is the product offering itself. I think those of us who can do that successfully will be the ones who can succeed going forward. So the customer is the king. We must, as an industry, obey those orders, so to speak.
Okay, so time to reimagine and redefine the real estate business. As Rajiv just said, customer is the king and we need to change business strategies to cater to them. With that, we wrap up this discussion. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. We request you to please stay back as we'd like to present a token of appreciation to you. Requesting our SMART members, Mr. Ashok Mirchandani, to please join me on stage here. All right, Mr. Ashok Mirchandani, yes. Also, Mr. Vijay Ahuja, join us on stage here to present the memento. Have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Ashok Mirchandani. Requesting Vijay Ahuja also to move forward and present a token of appreciation. Requesting Mr. Rajiv Lakhpati to please join us on stage here. Requesting Mr. Jatin Shah to please join us on stage to present a memento. Requesting Ms. Neha Pathak to please join me on stage here. Please present a memento to Vasudha. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? And thank you so much for gracing with us and sharing your knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, ek baar zordar taali ho jaye for all our speakers here.